Hi everyone, today we're going to cover the MDDialog widgets, which is the MDDialog and also the MDInputDialog. And these are both pop-ups. So here you can see what we're going to go over. We have the MDDialog, which is pretty much a pop-up with a title, some text, and then like affirmative or negative action buttons. So you click them and okay, it dismisses. Then the MDInputDialog is basically if you want your user to type in something on an input, and then kind of close the pop-up like that. And it's got that nice sort of autofocus feature. Okay, so let's get into the code. As always, the first thing is I go over my project, what's in my project folder here. So this is my project folder, and I have my KivyMD package copied over, and then I also have my main.kv and main.py file. So in my main.py file, all I've done is basically set up an app with nothing in it, but I've created these two dummy functions, which I'll fill in later, which will show the pop-ups, okay? So we'll show the MDDialog pop-up with one button and show the MDInputDialog with the other button. So if I go over to my KV code, all I've done is I've set up just a little vertical box layout, and I've put in two buttons, and when you click them, it opens it should open the corresponding pop-up, the MDDialog or MDInputDialog, by calling the function my app class. So show MDDialog there refers to right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the code. We don't need anything else in KV. Whenever you're working with the MDDialogs, everything is done in the Python side. So first we need to import our two widgets. So from KivyMD.uix.dialog, import MDInputDialog and also MDDialog. Okay, so we've imported our widgets. Now we'll work on the show dialog button. The first thing we need to do is say we need to instantiate it. So I'll say this is my dialog, and we will create this MDDialog class. And if I just leave it like this, then I can open my dialog with my dialog.open. So here you're creating your dialog, and then here you're opening it. Okay. And I'll show you what this looks like without any options passed. So if I click it, this is what the base dialog looks like. So title, text, and the OK button. And if you press OK, it's going to crash on you because it doesn't know what to do when you press OK. Alright, now I can fix all these things. Let's give it a new title. I'll say title is my MDDialog. And text, so what it shows in there, basically what your user reads is, this is, I don't know, some informational statement. Okay, something like that maybe. And then we can use size hint and pass it a list here. And the first one is the width of the pop-up. So maybe I'll say like 0.5, and then the height of the pop-up 0.5. So this will take up half of the width and height of the screen. And let's just see what happens if I run that now. So show MDDialog, you can see it's much smaller, so that's nice. And I've got my title and my text in here. Now the next things we're going to do is if I click out here, it goes away. So maybe you don't want to have that on. So you can turn auto dismiss to false. Now if I click outside of my pop-up, over here, nothing happens. So the user has to press the OK button. And it still crashes because it doesn't know what to do. So let's put in a callback function. So when the user clicks OK or cancels, I'll show in a second, what will your app do? So the keyword here is called events_callback, and you pass it a function. So maybe I'll say self.myCallback. And you don't call your function like that. Don't use the parentheses to call your function. You just tell it the function that's going to be called. Okay, so now I have to create this my callback function. So I'll say def my callback self, and then two things get passed in the callback. The first is the text of selection. So if the user clicks OK, it's like the string OK gets passed. And then also the pop-up widget is passed. Okay, so maybe I'll just print, I'll print both of those. Print pop-up widget. So now let me run my app and click OK. So I show the button and I click OK here. It no longer crashes because I've specified my callback function. And you can see I printed here OK, which was the text of selection, and then my dialog or MDDialog widget is also passed. Okay, so the last two things here are changing the button, text button OK. So I can change what that says. So maybe I'll say like yes instead of OK. And if I run it, now you see it says yes, so no more OKs. And then I can also specify another one, which is optional, is text button cancel. Okay, and I can put something like I don't agree. Alright, so if I run it now and I show my dialog, if I click I don't agree and I go back and look at what happened with my callback function, you can see it printed I don't agree. So basically your callback function is where you tell if your user clicked like your yes or your no by looking at this text of selection. Okay, so there you have it. That is all for the MDDialog widget. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the MDInputDialog, which is used if you want your user to type something in your pop-up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sort of do the same thing that we did before. I'll say my dialog is MDInputDialog, and I'll just leave it blank, and we'll say my dialog.open. So this will just show us what it looks like by default. Okay, here I am, and I click on this button, and you can see it looks pretty much the same as the last one did, but now I have this text field here instead of the message. Okay, if I click OK, it will crash again because it doesn't know what to do when you click OK yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and pass some variables. Of course, you can change the dialog or the title. So I'll say my MDInputDialog, and text is the one that we can't use here. Almost everything else is the same, but instead of text, we have to use hint text, and this is basically just the hint text for the text field there. So I'll say hint text is type your answer, whatever, it can be whatever you like, and we'll also change the size hint to be 0.5 again. So let's see what that looks like now. I open my dialog, and there you go. You can see it autofocuses, so that's really nice. Type your answer is my hint text, whatever, and there you go. So again, I'll work with the auto dismiss, so you can see auto dismiss is false. You can set that option. Text button OK is also, oops, I'll move it down here. Text button OK, you can still use, of course. So this is like submit. Okay, so if I run it, now you can see, oh whoops, I had a typo somewhere. Dismiss, there you go. So if I run it somewhere, you can see now I've got submit, and also I can't close it automatically by clicking somewhere outside of the dialog. So I hit submit, and it crashes, of course, because we don't have this events callback. So I'll just say events callback, and I'll do self.myCallback again. So I'm just going to use the same function here that I used with the last one, and we'll see what it pops out. So here we go. I'll say foo and submit. There you go, no more crashing because it's called my function. And it's printed out submit, so it prints out what I clicked again, and then the dialog widget. Now you might be thinking, well, how do I get the user's input, like what they typed? So to do that with the MDInputDialog, you can use the pop-up widget variable here, what I've called it, which refers to the MDInputDialog, don't forget. And you can say print pop-up widget dot text field dot text. So pop-up widget dot text field just refers to that text field that's in the widget, and you can use the text attribute of the text field just to print the text or to get the text. So if I run it now and I show my input dialog and I say hello YouTube and I submit and I go look at what I printed out, so I click submit and this was my pop-up object, and now it prints out what I typed in. So there you go. That's how you get what you put in from the MD input dialog, and that's about it for this tutorial. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.